Hey, sorry about the last video with the sporking on it. I accidentally dropped the book on the keyboard and it stopped recording. And, well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Like, months. Awkward. And I'm sorry, I can't stand this much stupid for very long. Because, seriously, Where was I last at? That would explain why I didn't remember him. I do a good job of blocking painful, unnecessary things from my memory. Yes, because fishing apparently is that. He's in a wheelchair now, Charlie continued when I didn't respond, so he can't drive anymore, and he offered to sell me his truck cheap. What year is it? I could see from his change of expression that this was the question he was hoping I wouldn't ask. Bitch. Seriously? Who cares? It's a free car. As long as it runs, it doesn't really matter. Well, Billy's done a lot of work on the engine. It's only a few years old, really. I hoped he didn't think so little of me as to believe I would give up that easily. Hey, she's really a bitch. Seriously, you can make a drinking game of how many times you call her a bitch. Because she's a bitch. A condescending bitch. Who really just... Ugh. When did he buy it? He bought it in 1984, I think. I have a little note in the margin about, which is pretty much saying, like the Orwell book? Seriously, that's really not cute. That it's supposed to be 1984. Har har. Did he buy it new? Well, no, I think it was new in the early 60s or late 50s at the earliest, he admitted sheepishly. Shh, Dad, that's not a, seriously, that's not a mispronunciation. It says ch, and then there's a dash, and then Dad, because she's about to say Charlie. I don't really know anything about cars. I wouldn't be able to fix it if anything went wrong. I couldn't afford a mechanic. Why does she want a car then if she's worried about that? I mean, I understand it's cool to have a car, but if you can't afford gas, you don't have a job, and all that, you probably, it just is a little weird, okay? Really, Bella, the thing runs great. They don't build them like that anymore. The thing, I thought to myself. It had possibilities, as a nickname, at the very least. Okay, besides the fact that that sounds like a reference to the Fantastic Four, seriously. I mean, I would never want to play a drinking game with this book, where you just count how many times she's a bitch. Because you'd probably be under the table by now. And I'm on page 7. How cheap is cheap? After all, that was the part I couldn't compromise on. Who cares? I mean, like, my car. I named my car Mikhail. It cost $300. $150 for repairs, and then another $150 for more repairs. That's pretty cheap, because my grandpa had got it from his friend who didn't need it anymore, and then he brought it here, and then it needed $300 worth of repairs, and that was it. Well, honey, I kind of already bought it for you, as a homecoming gift. Charlie peeked sideways at me with a hopeful expression. Wow. Free. I really don't know how to say that because she's just been a bitch this whole time, so I don't know if the inflection is supposed to be like, sort of like, just being dumbfounded, like, whoa, he actually went to all this trouble for me? Gee, thanks, etc. I can't tell because she's a bitch. You didn't need to do that, Dad. I was going to buy myself a car. Yet she cannot afford a mechanic if anything went wrong. Inconsistency. Anyway, I don't mind. I want you to be happy here. He was looking ahead at the road when he said this. Charlie wasn't comfortable with expressing his emotions out loud. I inherited that from him. Really, he's being a nice guy. You're being a bitch. Not being... So I was looking straight ahead I was looking straight ahead as I responded. Okay, sometimes it's weird. Anyway. That's really nice, Dad. Thanks. I really appreciate it. Seriously, I don't know how to read that. Like, what intonation I should have, because she's just been a bitch this whole time. And, I actually did watch, I watched up to a certain point in the Twilight movie. The one thing I liked about it, there are two things I liked about it. One, some of the minor characters in the book, the human characters, are fleshed out more. And two, you don't have to listen to this endless, inane, bitchy drivel the whole time. That's really nice. But seriously, it really is nice. That's not good. No need to add that my being happy in Forks is an impossibility. Seriously, that's overdramatic. He didn't need to suffer along with me. He's not really suffering. He's lived there for years. If he was suffering, he probably would have moved away to somewhere he wouldn't be suffering at. And I never looked a free truck in the mouth, or engine. That's supposed to be a reference to using the term, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, which is to say you don't question gifts. But the whole or engine thing, it would have made more sense to just have engine in place of mouth, instead of having at the end, or engine. Well, now, you're welcome, he mumbled, embarrassed by my thanks. We exchanged a few more comments on the weather, which was wet. That's so redundant. And that was pretty much it for conversation. We stared out the windows in silence. It was beautiful, of course, I couldn't deny that. Everything was green. The trees, their trunks covered with moss, their branches hanging with a canopy of it, the ground covered with ferns. Even the air filtered down greenly through the leaves. It was too green, an alien planet. Eventually, we made it to Charlie's. He still lived in the small 2-bedroom house that he bought with my mother in the early days of the marriage. Those were the only days their marriage had, the early ones. There, parked on the street in front of the house that never changed, was my new to me, truck. It was a faded red color with big rounded fenders and a bulbous cap. I think red is a color. Just a thought. To my intense surprise, I loved it. I didn't know if it would run, but I could see for myself in it. Plus, it was one of those solid iron affairs that never gets damaged. The kind you see at the scene of an accident, paint unscratched, surrounded by the pieces of the foreign car it had destroyed. Actually, no. For instance, it's actually not very good to have an SUV. At least because there's a chance of rollover issues. Like, if you get a normal car, it's less of a chance of rollover than an SUV due to the center of gravity being different. So I'm really confused there, because claiming that, an old car is better than a foreign car, then why the hell was she bitching about the fact that it was old in the first place? Anyway. Wow, Dad, I love it. Thanks. Now my horrific day tomorrow would be just that much less dreadful. Horrific? Horrific is along the lines of lickers tearing up shit in a hotel that's on fire, and the police station, zombies clawing at the walls, trying to grab you through the windows, and randomly playing dead until you walk by and then they grab your leg and try to eat you. It's the nemesis charging through walls, freaking you out, going, oh my, and you're like going, oh my god! And he's like, that, the first day of school in his school is not a horrific event. She's just being overdramatic. I wouldn't be faced with the choice of either walking 2 miles in the rain to school or accepting a ride in the Chief's cruiser. I'm glad you like it, Charlie said gruffly, embarrassed again. It took only one trip to get all my stuff upstairs. I got to the west bedroom that faced out over the front yard. The room was familiar. It had belonged to me since I was born. The wooden floors, the light blue walls, the peaked ceiling, the yellow lace curtains around the window, these were all a part of my childhood. Problem is that she was only there for fishing trips, so that would be the only time, because, well, that she would remember that. People don't get a chronological sense of memory until they're 3-ish. Yeah, around 3 years old, so... I mean, earlier in the book it says something about, just a few weeks after she was born, they went off, or what was it? Yeah, only a few months old, so it can't be that, unless S. Myers was trying to say that, oh, Bella's so awesome, she remembers that. Anyway. The only changes Charlie had ever made were switching the crib for a bed and adding a desk as I grew. The desk now held a second-hand computer with the phone line for the modem stapled along the floor to the nearest phone jack. This was a stipulation from my mother so that we could stay in touch easily. The rocking chair from my baby days was still in the corner. How would she remember that? She wouldn't. She is... Fuck. Anyway, there was only one small bathroom at the top of the stairs, which I would have to share with Charlie. I was trying not to dwell too much on that fact. One of the best things about Charlie is that he doesn't hover. He left me alone to pack and get settled, a feat that would have been altogether impossible for my mother. It was nice to be alone, not to have to smile and look pleased. I relieved to stare dejectedly out the window at the sheeting rain and let just a few tears escape. I wasn't in the mood to go on a real crying jag. Okay, jag is not normal for... It's not in... how should I put it? Normal teenager's vocabulary. Just a thought. I would save that for bedtime when I would have to think about the coming morning. So, remind me again, why did she choose this? She went there, even though she hates it there, and nobody was forcing her to go there. She just felt, oh, screwed, I'm going there, but I have no reason to go there, and I hate the place. Seriously, I understand this is due to the plot. I remember, well, I know I said this before, but it bears repeating. This is all due to the plot. It has nothing to do with the fact that she would actually be doing this, you know, like, of her own free will or something. If she was doing it because she liked the place, it would make more sense. But her bitching about it is ridiculous, because she chose it. Forks High School had a frightening total of only 357, now 58 students. Well, that's funny because, well, my high school had 240 students. Or so. It's give or take number, okay? But the thing is that that's just the rough estimate for every, every year and such. It's roughly 240 students. I don't quite get why, though, she's bitching about this sort of stuff. There were more than 700 people in my junior class alone back home. All of the kids here had grown up together. Their grandparents had been toddlers together. Unlikely, because that would imply a lot of people being interrelated, thus meaning almost no dating because of incest issues. Just a thought. I mean, I understand small towns have a lot of people who've just stayed there their whole lives. I'm currently in a small town, but the thing is, this town is smaller than Forks. It has less than 3,000 people. But the thing is that even then, that's an over-exaggeration. I'd be the new girl from the big city, a curiosity, a freak. Overdramatic. Maybe if I looked like a girl from Phoenix should, I could work this to my advantage, but physically, I'd never fit in anywhere. I should be tan, sporty, blonde, a volleyball player, or a cheerleader perhaps, all the things that go with living in the Valley of the Sun. And I really think that Esmire's just taking stereotypes and trotting them out, despite the fact that, you know, there's probably some dark-haired, pale, nerdy girls in Phoenix, Arizona. Never been to Phoenix, but there is probably some, because not every place is like that. Well, how Bella describes it. There's a variety of people. Indeed, it'd be much more likely that a smaller town would be more homogeneous. Just a thought. Because this place is fairly homogeneous where I'm at. Anyway. Instead, I was ivory-skinned without even the excuse of blue eyes or red hair despite the constant sunshine. Well, I have blue eyes. I tan actually quite well, but my mother has brown hair and brown eyes, and she burns and blisters like crazy. So, apparently... I had always been slender, but soft somehow, obviously not an athlete. Well, actually, the thing is that I don't know if Esmire's trying to make that seem like a bad thing or whatever, but that actually would probably be seen as a somewhat good thing, because there are some people who have serious issues with having a girlfriend who's tougher than them. Just a thought. So, irony. I didn't have the necessary hand-eye coordination to play sports without humiliating myself and harming both myself and anyone else who stood too close. When I finished putting my clothes in the old pine dresser, I took my bag of bathroom necessities and went to the communal bathroom to clean myself up after the day of travel. Communal... Well, I understand that means it's a shared bathroom, but communal sort of implies that's a bunch of people, not just two that are related. Oi. I looked at my face in the mirror as I brushed through my tangled, damp hair. Maybe it was the light, but already I looked sallower, unhealthy. My skin could be pretty, but was very clear, almost translucent looking. Which is like a licker's skin, by the way. You know, that transparent sheen that's like, seriously. Ew. Wait, that gives me the image that she's like the, I don't know if it's pronounced Regis liquor or Regis liquor, but that one at the Apple Inn, the final boss, is this semi-mutated liquor, and it's got dark hair still got eye sockets and stuff, and it's still more human-looking than normal liquors. Well, maybe she looks like that. That would be interesting. So from now on, I keep imagining her as a liquor. Anyway. But it all depended on color. I had no color here. She probably has no color anywhere else if, you know, she's got translucent skin. Just a thought. Facing my pallid reflection in the mirror, I was forced to admit that I was lying to myself. It wasn't just physically that I'd never fit in. Funny, she's only been describing physical traits. And if I couldn't find a niche in a school with 3,000 people, what were my chances here? Maybe the reason why you never fit in is because you're such a bitch and you've got translucent liquor skin. I didn't relate well to people my age. Maybe the truth was that I didn't relate well to people, period. Well, being a bitch to everyone is probably going to do that. Just a thought. Even my mother, who I was closer to than anyone else on the planet, was never in harmony with me, never on exactly the same page. Well, sometimes I wondered if I was seeing the same things through my eyes as the rest of the world was seeing through theirs. Maybe there was a glitch in my brain. Maybe it's because you're a bitch. You know, that would explain why you're never in harmony with anyone, no matter what. But the cause didn't matter. All that mattered was the effect. Actually, the cause is sort of important, because at least in effect, if you can cut off the cause or change the cause, then you change the effect. And tomorrow would be just the beginning. Funny, I thought we were already, we're on page 11 right now, so was that not the beginning? Anyway, I didn't sleep well that night, even after I was done crying. The constant whooshing of the rain and wind across the roof didn't fade into the background. I pulled the faded old quilt over my head, and later added the pillow too. But I couldn't fall asleep until after midnight, when the rain finally settled into a quieter drizzle. Thick fog was all I could see out my window in the morning, and I could feel the claustrophobia creeping up on me. You could never see the sky here. It was like a cage. Just a thought. The sun does come out in places that are filled with greenery. Because, you see, plants need the sun for photosynthesis. Breakfast with Charlie was a quiet event. He wished me good luck. I thanked him, knowing his hope was wasted. Good luck tended to avoid me. Maybe because you're a bitch to everyone. Charlie left first, off to the police station that was his wife and family. I find that hard to believe. After he left, I sat at the old square oak table at one of the 3 unmatching chairs and examined his small kitchen with its dark paneled walls, bright yellow cabinets, and white linoleum floor. Nothing was changed. My mother had painted the cabinets 18 years ago in an attempt to bring some sunshine into the house. Over the small fireplace in the adjoining handkerchief-sized family room was a row of pictures. Okay, seriously though, she's just like trying to, I don't know, it's like she's trying to tell a sob story saying about matching chairs. Well, the thing is, when I grew up, we didn't really have matching chairs. I mean, we had 2 chairs that were one way and 4 chairs that were the other way. And all that, so it's like, what the frick? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, and then the whole handkerchief-sized family room, she's pretty much over-exaggerating, and it's so annoying after a while. Like, oh, poor me. Despite the fact that she really hasn't shown anything that would actually require that. Like, you know, I could understand someone who's bullied, or someone who had, like, depression, or someone who was abused acting like, oh, poor me. That makes sense. She's just a bitch and moping about something she brought on herself. She literally brought on herself. Nobody made her do it. Anyway. First, a wedding picture of Charlie and my mom in Las Vegas. Then one of the 3 of us in the hospital after I was born, taken by a helpful nurse, followed by the procession of my school pictures up to last year's. Those were embarrassing to look at. I would have to see what I could do to get Charlie to put them somewhere else, at least while I was living here. It's impossible, being in this house, not to realize that Charlie had never gotten over my mom. It made me uncomfortable. Why? I mean, why would that make you uncomfortable? I didn't want to be too early to school, but I couldn't stay in the house anymore. I donned my jacket, which had the feel of a biohazard suit. The thing is, biohazard suits have a separate air system, like, it's filled with air, separate air system, so you don't get the infectious agents in your system if it's airborne. But Esmara wouldn't know that, would she? Considering she didn't have the respect to actually research forks or research vampire and werewolf myths, you know, and she's writing books about vampires and werewolves set in forks. Anyway, and headed out into the rain. It was just drizzling still, not enough to soak me through immediately as I reached for the house key that was always hidden under the eaves by the door and locked up. Okay, she hasn't been there for, 3 years, and he still does that? Okay. Interesting. The sloshing of my new waterproof boots was unnerving. I missed the normal crunch of gravel as I walked. Okay, I'm going to just go on, let's see, Wikipedia and check the rain. Wikipedia.org. The rain for Arizona. Well, Phoenix, Arizona, I should say. Phoenix, Arizona is the capital and largest city of the U.S. state of Arizona. Let's see. Climate. La 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 la. Precipitation is sparse during a large part of the summer, but the influx of monsoonal moisture, which generally begins in early July and lasts until mid-September, raises humidity levels and can cause heavy localized precipitation and flooding occasionally. Winter months are warm, with daily high temperatures ranging from the mid-60s to low 70s. So, let's see. Phoenix averages 85% of possible sunshine and receives scant rainfall, the average annual total at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport being 8.3 inches. March is the wettest month of the year, 1.07 inches, with June being the driest, 0.09 inches. Although thunderstorms are possible at any time of the year, they are most common during the monsoon from July to mid-September, as humid air surges from the Gulf of surges in from the Gulf of California. So pretty much, yeah, it's not like it never, ever, ever rains in Phoenix, Arizona. It doesn't rain very often. It's not common by any means, but seriously, it does rain sometimes.